1 in 3 people in the world will experience cancer at some point of time in their lives. That number will go up to 1 in 2 in years to come. And it's difficult to study because the immune system regulates a lot of the body's biological system. This is where ImmunoScape's technology comes in.
ImmunoScape is an immune profiling company. So the purpose of the company is to look deeply at what your immune system is doing.
Our technology helps to understand the unique T-cell response, what T-cells do, what targets they see.
By looking at those T-cells, we can understand what your body is doing in response to any infection or disease.
Also, we can help them select which patients should be treated with a certain immunotherapy vaccine and increase the chances of success, limit cost of therapy, limit toxicity in patients that may not otherwise respond.
ImmunoScape is groundbreaking because it provides a high level of multiplicity in terms of the numbers of different antigens that we can look at the same time. We can screen large numbers of possibilities. And then for any of the cells that we detect, we can learn a great deal about those cells.
Coupled with our collaborators' characterization of their patients in clinical trial, it forms a very complete picture of what the patients are going through.
When the COVID problem occurred, we immediately considered that we had the right technology to help.
Our technology can be leveraged for a better understanding of COVID-19 infection and for the development of therapeutic or vaccine approaches.
For example, in vaccine world, people talk about 5 to 10 years to develop a vaccine, and now we are looking at 12 to 18 months. That's because of the tools that are available, like the ones that we champion.
COVID has made us very appreciative of what the immune system is important for in terms of clearing infectious diseases that can emerge unexpectedly. And so I anticipate that ImmunoScape will also evolve rapidly in terms of applying and developing ever-improving technologies that will allow us to do more into the future.
We are privileged and heartened to be able to contribute to the patient outcome in this very tangible way. And we look forward to partner up with the best institutions in the world to accomplish this task for the sake of furthering the science and bringing new therapies to patients.
I hope everyone has enjoyed a great video from ImmunoScape. I truly believe that startup champions new frontiers and change the way we fight disease tomorrow. Today, it is our pleasure to have ImmunoScape team with us to share their experience working in a startup. I think this is a very, very unique experience as we rarely have a mix of employees of different levels of a startup from one company coming together to share their collective experience. This is something that we can actually tap on and look through a biotech startup, picking through the different lens, and we can find out whether joining a startup is as always glamorous as ever we see in the news. I hope everyone in the webinar today can actively participate and share their thoughts or questions through the Q&A box below throughout the session and have a fruitful discussion with the ImmunoScape team. Without further ado, let me introduce our three guests to the panel discussion today. First up, we have Ms. Nguyen, Hoang, Diem, Phuong. Phuong, I hope I got your name correct. Phuong is a senior research officer at ImmunoScape, and she works on high-dimensional profiling of antigen-specific T cells in cancer and other disease. I also understand that Phuong is currently enjoying her last bit of maternity leave before she joins the race with ImmunoScape next month. Welcome to the panel, Phuong. Would you like to quickly introduce yourself to the panel? To the audience. Phuong, you're muted.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Phuong, and today I'm very glad to share with you my personal experience working as a research officer in ImmunoScape. I received my Bachelor of Science in the US in 2018, where my passion in cancer immunology started. After graduating, I worked in academic research focusing on tumor microenvironment in liver cancer. I joined ImmunoScape in late 2019, and in my current role, I mainly profile antigen-specific T cells in cancers and other diseases. Back then, I had known ImmunoScape through its reputation in the field. And when I had a chance to be interviewed by the management team and talk to people working in the lab, I see high quality of science is performed. Also, there's an occasion, it's a special event where I was invited to a company dinner, and I was so impressed by the diverse group of passionate scientists working there. In my second interview, I talked to Michael, our Director of Scientific Affairs. I asked a lot of questions because I really concerned about my career advancement. He do share with me a lot about the current projects and the company performance. And from then, I got excited by how important scientific discoveries can be translated into therapeutic intervention. Therefore, I didn't hesitate to join the company. That's for my first impression, and it has been more than a year. And I think so far so good. I enjoy great science and great people. My friends, do ask me a lot about what the difference between working in a biotech company compared to my previous academic research. I think both sides have their own pressures and demands. In a biotech company like ImmunoScape, I feel that the pace is faster and the schedule is more structured with more process oriented, whereby I have to integrate both sides and business goals in a tight project deadline most of the time. Maximization of productivity is very crucial for us, which requires me to have a good communication skills, project management, and teamwork. But after all, I strongly believe our work will contribute to the advancement of clinical translation. That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Phuong. I think there will be many questions coming to you later. Next, we have Dr. Ma Shiming. Shiming is an Associate Director of Project Management at ImmunoScape. He is currently seconded to ImmunoScape under the TEOP program. Shiming was a research fellow at GIS before he joined ImmunoScape. So at ImmunoScape, he looks after both the bioinformatics development and as well as project management. So I'll let Shiming take it away and introduce himself here. Shiming, please.
Thank you, Vanessa, and welcome to everyone for joining our seminar. So I'm Siming. Previously, I was under ASA scholarship, so I was trained in the UK and then for my undergrad, and then US for my PhD. I was trained as a bioinformatician, so I analyze big data. I came back to A-STAR about 4 years ago. I joined GIS as a research fellow. So I was in a cancer biology lab for 3 years. And then after that, I decided to take up the TEOP program, which allows me to be seconded to a local biotech. And at that time, ImmunoScape was recruiting. So I met Choon, and he shared with me the exciting work that is going on with the company. And so I was pretty excited to explore. And after I joined, I never regretted my decision. And I have a very wide exposure to different aspects of the startup. As Vanessa mentioned, I have exposure to not only bioinformatics, but also on the commercial side of things, including due diligence during the fundraising process and writing up grant applications for external fundings. And also at the moment, I'm in charge of the various projects that's going on in the company in a liaison role between the internal team and the external clients. So it's definitely a very exciting and enriching journey for the last 1.5 years. And I'm happy to share more later on.
Thank you, Siming. And finally, we have the CEO of ImmunoScape, Mr. Peng. Choon is a good friend of A-STAR. He was also a senior director at the Farm Bio cluster at BMRC, where he was responsible for formulating Singapore biomedical research strategy. Choon has spent a quite number of years in J&J, and prior to A-STAR, he was the CEO Asia of Leo Pharma, a MNC in the pharmaceutical world from Denmark. He is a serial entrepreneur, started 2 other companies before, Tembusu Healthcare and Chris Bio, before he co-founded ImmunoScape. Choon, the floor is yours, please.
Hi, thanks, Vanessa, and very happy to be collaborating with A-STAR accelerate and together with Vanessa and also behind the scenes, Susan, to bring together this webinar to our audience out there who want to learn more about what life in a startup is like. I think, for us in the biotech scene, we are very privileged, right? To be contributing in a time like this. The fact that we are doing a webinar today and you are sitting in your office and your home participating in this webinar tells us that things are not the way it was about a year ago. And the fact is that as you flip through the newspapers every day, people are concerned about going through the second wave and third wave. And today's Monetary Authority of Singapore update is that this recovery is going to be a bit tougher than what we experienced in, let's say, 2008 financial crisis. Many lives are affected either directly by COVID or by the economic repercussions from COVID. However, I think many of you are scientists, and we are in a privileged position to be able to contribute in some way or other in helping to find solutions to this problem. Either, some of you might be working in the diagnostic space. Some of you could be like what we are doing in a supportive role, where we are working with vaccine development companies in helping them identify the relevant epitopes as they design the next generation of vaccines against COVID. So I would say that with my background in A*STAR, I can hopefully relate to some of the questions that might be coming up later, as I was the Senior Director for Biomedical Research Council in A*STAR headquarters. And I joined A*STAR in 2013, and I was all the way through before we spun off ImmunoScape. So we'll be looking forward to taking questions from the floor about our life in a biotech company like ImmunoScape, and also our experience in crossing over. For Siming and I, we came in from A*STAR. For Phuong is from a different research institution and clinical institution. So we will have a couple of things that we can hopefully share and answer various questions from the floor. Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you, Choon. Choon, will you be sharing your slides on ImmunoScape?
Definitely, and hopefully that people on the call can now see my slide as I try to make sure that it is of the correct view. Okay, so I'm going to zip through a bunch of slides that will introduce ImmunoScape to you, so as to give you a quick background as to what we do, and happy to take questions after. Do not bother to copy notes. If you if you want to have information, just reach out to us, and we'll be happy to engage you and share with you things that are not confidential. Now, our mission is to provide insights in immunological landscape to help companies and research institutions in developing their immunotherapies. And we believe that we can help to accelerate the process so that patients can get treated with the innovative therapies and that are effective and that's got a few side effects. So this is our mission and our vision. And we apply this in the field of cancer and more recently in the field of COVID and infectious diseases. So the science itself, just now in the video, you would have seen what we've tried to explain. And we impact different phases of clinical trial. For our immune profiling work with pharma companies, we typically work with them during the phase 1 and phase 2 trial with their clinical samples, helping them identify novel biomarkers and understanding biological activities. And also in the upstream, we are into TCR target discovery and TCR identification, and that will arrive at the new therapies and treatments. And what is the problem today, right? Today, immunotherapy development has been limited by our inability to both simultaneously identify the antigen-specific T cells and at the same time characterize them, right? And we solved this problem with our technology that Evan Newell developed in A-star SIGN with the combinatorial peptide MHC tetramer strategy that using heavy metals that are that we can choose using different permutations of them, that we tag them onto the peptide MHC, that we are able to identify these very rare antigen-specific T cells at the same time with our antibody panel of antibodies that is also tagged with these metal isotopes that we can characterize these T cells. And this is applied not just in the mass cytometry platform. We have now also adapted it and then applied it into the flow cytometry platform that's got a higher throughput. Overall, on the right-hand side, we generate unique immunological insights as companies are developing immunotherapy. And this is another interesting part, because as the data comes out from the CyTOF machine and the flow machines, right, that we have a proprietary software that we developed first from Evan's codes that he wrote and some open source material, and then putting together into cloud. That's got a very clean interface that you see in the middle of the picture that pharma companies and our collaborators can make use of this tool to come up with the analytical outcomes on the right-hand side. As you can see, some of the UMAP, TISNI maps, heat maps on the right-hand side that immunologists use to interpret immunological responses of the clinical samples. So we are furthering this work over here and are definitely still looking for bioinformaticians like Siming and software developers who will be able to help us scale this up into the next level of capability into machine learning of some of these raw data and analysis. So we are very well published. You can see the list of publications, including Nature Communications, Nature paper in 2018, and the Journal of Immunotherapy of Cancer. So this is very high science, very deep science and deep tech. We continue to publish. Our recent publication is on COVID, together with Johns Hopkins University, on the immunodominant epitopes beyond the spike protein that we found on convalescent patients. This is going to be helpful in designing the next generation of COVID vaccines. So we typically take samples from our clients, and then we run that through our unique assays using our CyTOF platform and with the data acquisition and the data analysis with cytographer. So the business itself, huge opportunity in profiling, and this is convergence of various big trends that we see in machine learning, databases, single cell omics, and for us adapting the various and leveraging on these various trends in producing the immunological insights. We work with the likes of Genentech, Gilead, Johnson & Johnson, Janssen, Gates Foundation, Duke NUS, Macrogenics, MD Anderson, Johns Hopkins. And this is our COVID projects. Other than the academic institutions on the top half of the slide of Harvard, Mass Gen, Duke NUS, Johns Hopkins, we also work with companies, CureVac in Germany, Arcturus in San Diego, and Velo from Finland. And this is for the work we have actually been appearing in the press. Hopefully you caught some of this in the mass media. And this is our a spill. And after you wear a mask, you do not know how you look like. And then this is Faris, who is our senior research officer, who has done very well for us. And this is also our explanation of how T cell fights viruses. and using using our technology, we can actually identify this. Our expansion in the US, so on the bottom left-hand corner, you see Antonella Vitiello. She's our head of the US lab. They are in the Singapore lab today. After 2-week quarantine in Carlton Hotel, the high-class prison that we put them into for coming from the US, 14 days. Now they are in the lab onboarding and will be going to San Diego. So anybody that joins ImmunoScape, we will ask them these questions. Are you open to going to the US, to our US San Diego lab? Not now. We are not going to send you in right now. Probably when when things are a little bit better in how they handle COVID. But in any case, the Americans are going back to start off the lab first, and we need to staff up this lab. You can see there's a lot of space there. We continue to run the Singapore lab, but if you're keen to have a stint and working experience in the US, it would be helpful to have that conversation with you. We already have presence in the Bay Area. Brian Abel is there with our BD team, San Diego team. We are hiring somebody in Boston for business development, but we are looking for immunologists with some commercial background. Brian himself has got an MBA, PhD immunologist. So these are opportunities. We are well funded. I think you want to join a biotech. Important to see how well funded they are. And we have raised over 13 million US to date. And this morning we were also thinking about our current investors are very bullish about what we are doing and are considering putting in more so that we can leverage on the opportunities ahead of us as we scale up. Yeah. So the team itself Evan came from Stanford, was in SIGN, A-Star. We developed the technology, we licensed the technology from A-Star in 2017 and formed the company. And these are the 4 of us. The top 3 are the co-founders. You see 4, right? So you see top 3 co-founders, and then Al is a COO, and Michael is the Director of Scientific Affairs. He runs the lab. Then we recently hired Jeff Nostrati. He is the one bringing in the deals. He's based in San Francisco. Romy CFO is from Singapore here. Matt Cobbett is also US based. He's the VP of North America. So you can see that we are expanding our US presence. And the other co-founder comes here. So Evan is in Fred Hutch Cancer Institute in Seattle. So he is also co-founder, and he heads up the advisory board, comprising of top names like Phil Greenberg from Fred Hutch, Patrick Rees from MassGen, and Paul Thomas from St. Jude's. And strategic advisors include Prof. Sukichi from founding director of National Cancer Center, and a couple of others. And then this is our advisory board meeting. Somebody crack a joke, and we're getting good advice from this very high level of scientific advisors. And this is our team here in Singapore. A strong Singaporean core is supported by global talent. And another picture. Every time you take pictures, somebody must close their eyes, somehow. Yeah. And this is an award we won, the A-Star Scientist and Entrepreneur Award. And we are nominated as the top 15 for the 2020 Emerging Enterprise Award organized by Business Times and OCBC Bank. And you'll see us in Business Times pretty soon as they choose the top 3 eventually. So I want to talk to you more about what the company is about. Yeah. And I think when you are looking at biotech company you want to join, it is very important to figure out the company culture. And I guess, even as you work in various organizations and labs, the PI defines the culture. If you work in A-Star, top management defines part of the culture, but your team that you work with defines the culture. So the culture is a composition of what the people bring together. And when we interview people, we want to see how the new people will affect the culture. And so we do interview process very carefully. We identify hard skills that we need to contribute. But, I always am involved in the interviews, even with scientists. I am not a scientist myself, but I workshop for culture, right? And are we bringing in people who are nimble, who have integrity, who collaborate, who strive for excellence? We work very independently in ImmunoScape, and we want people who are self-motivated and take initiative, and who are team players. So these are actually very important points. We go through this discussion with employees every year, how are we doing in terms of your fit into the culture of the company, anything that you need to do to tweak, to change, to adapt. So my closing thought in this presentation is, would you consider a life in biotech? So too much talking. Back to you, Vanessa, as we get on to the panel discussion. Yeah.
Thank you, Choon Peng. I think this is a very nice segue into our panel discussion. Before I start the panel discussion, I would also like to invite the audience. Please put in your questions in the Q&A box, and we will pick it up for discussion as we go along. I think this is the most meaningful way of getting the most out of understanding how life in a biotech looks like. Maybe because as a moderator, I think I get to run the first few questions. To pick up a couple of points, Choon, you talk about that there are actually 3 to 4 aspects that I would like to just pick up brains on, and as well as get your team to chime in here. One is that we all understand that growing a startup, recruitment of talents, it's one of the key facilitator for startups to be able to thrive, right? So what are the challenges that as a CEO that you face to grow your startup and recruit your talents? And then I'll probably run a similar question down to Shiming and Phuong. Before we start that, Shiming and Phuong, could you get your camera on, please? Thank you. All right, Choon, please tell us, what are your challenges?
Yeah. I think, first of all, we ask ourselves, right? I mean, what is a biotech company? We are not a building. We are not machines. Actually, we are a group of people going out there to solve the difficult scientific questions in the world. And that's how a company is valued by investors as well, right? Are you able to solve the difficult scientific problems in the world, right? And of course, we do need a space to operate. We do need to get machines to do our experiments. But you know what? I don't care, right? Whether I own the machine or I rent the machine. I don't care whether I own the building or I rent the building. The important thing is that as a team, can we go out there and solve problems? And who are the ones solving problems, right? It's the people, right? So it is of utmost importance that we put together a group of people who are dedicated in solving these very difficult scientific problems. And cancer is a big problem that the world is facing today. COVID is a big problem that the world is facing today. I cannot say that I will be able to solve the cancer problem, right? And I remember my conversation with the director of National Cancer Center today, Dr. Hoang. I met him and I said, oh yeah, it's such a difficult problem to solve, isn't it? And he said, well, Choon, we have been solving the problem of cancer a bit at a time, right? In the past, if you say that you've got lung cancer, it's almost like a death sentence. And today there is immunotherapy treating lung cancer patients. And in my own life, I've got my uncle who's got stage 4 lung cancer. He told me to look after his daughter in kindergarten. I was like, wow, And then he went on immunotherapy. I told him to speak to Dr. Daniel Tan in National Cancer Center. And then he's responding well to immunotherapy. He's gone back to driving his taxi, and living his life again. And he's given a new lease of life. My mother-in-law has got ovarian cancer. She's living with ovarian cancer for 17 years. I mean, in the past, that would not be possible, right? So how can ImmunoScape contribute towards the treatment of cancer? We help to do immune profiling with companies that have got a cancer pipeline. And then we'll let them know how their patients are doing. They send us samples of patients before treatment, 3 weeks after treatment, 3 months after treatment, and we will tell them how these things have progressed, right? So we are looking for talented people who are willing to work in a team to solve these difficult problems. And you need to have some skills. If you are willing to start from at a junior level and you said, okay, I don't have the experience per se in what you are doing, but I'm willing to learn. then yeah, we can also train you and help you. So it is a combination of both the hard skill set and also the soft skill set and the willingness to work together here. So that is a long answer to a short question, Vanessa.
Thank you, Choon. I think you also answered one of the questions that came up on the Q&A. But actually, I would like to take that, because the question in the Q&A is talking about career opportunities at ImmunoScape for a mid-career scientist without immunology background. I think this is pretty much gearing towards Shiming, because I would assume that you probably is not immunologist when you join ImmunoScape, but rather your talent is in bioinformatics. So in terms of joining a startup without a full-blown immunology background, was it very difficult for you to assimilate into the startup? And was there any challenges that you faced in terms of, are you the only bioinformaticians in ImmunoScape and nobody understood what you're trying to say? Could you share with the audience what are some of your thoughts around that?
Okay, sure. Thank you. And thank you, Chelsea, for your question. Yeah, so my background is, I'm a bioinformatician. My undergrad have some training in protein science. So I did work in the lab, but for maybe 1-2 years. And my whole immunology knowledge is probably just 2 semesters of lectures. So at the beginning, there's a lot of catching up to do, but I think as all trained scientists will realize, there's always a need to constantly expand our knowledge and horizon. So initially it takes some time to read up on the literature, but I'm pretty sure most scientists will be able to pick up the basics of it pretty quickly. And so for the company, of course, the core is immunology and cytoph. So that's mostly the operation site focus. But we also have the tech development team. So for the tech development team, is a pretty diverse background. So we have protein scientists. We have experts in RNA sequencing. So and then we also have the bioinformaticians on the site. So again, it's a very a diverse group. And so my answer to that question is, I'm sure like you can bring in very valuable skills, whether it's like cell culture or like animal studies and so on, with an open mind to be willing to learn more in immunology. I think you'll be a very valuable asset, not only maybe in the tech development team and also in the operation side as well. Yeah, maybe Choon can comment a bit more on this.
Choon, as a hiring manager, do you have any issues with people that are perhaps not the first cut immunologist skill sets?
Well, take me for example. Yeah, I'm not an immunologist, so that might answer part of the question. Yeah, and I guess it depends on time and space as well. Because as the company expands, we will require different sets of people at different timings. And it is important to keep in touch with the company, especially when you have interest in the company. Our conversation sometimes spans over a period of a year or two, because some candidates come to me and says, Choon, you know what, I'm interested, and say, okay, for this point of time, we are not looking for this kind of skill sets for now. However, there could be some opportunities further down the road. So, from the time we started talking until the time we joined the company, was it more than a year?
Yeah, it's about a year. Yeah.
About a year. We were talking for about a year. He was keen to join. I was keen to have him, but sometimes it depends on the progress of the company, and at what point of time we should be bringing certain expertise. As we started, of course, our core is immunology, but as the team expands, as you can see in the US, we are hiring business development folks that does immunology and also business. Over in our lab, right, we have, of course, started with immunology, but we have actually expanded our team of people working on protein. So we have now protein scientists. They are not immunologists. We are training them to do some immunology, but they are protein scientists because we are producing the reagents. And also our bioinformatics team is expanding. Swimming himself is a bioinformatician, and we are expanding this a lot, especially into machine learning. So we want to be able to bring in those expertise as well. We are getting more and more into single cell sequencing, and that team is also expanding. So I know that there could be some folks who have experience in sequencing in this call. This is an area that we are expanding into. As you know, that the single cell sequencing into TCR antigen profiling is very hot right now, and we are definitely going into this space quite quickly.
Thank you, Choon. So Shiming has mentioned about, how, or rather Choon has mentioned about how he recruited Shiming. The whole recruitment drive took about a year. So perhaps let me shine the spotlight into Phuong at this moment. In your introduction, you mentioned a little bit about, your recruitment experience with ImmunoScape. Would you be able to shed some light, did you reach out to ImmunoScape or ImmunoScape reach out to you? I think these are questions that sometimes, in the environment where we are, is where do we take the first step, and how do you take the first step in joining a startup? Maybe Phuong can shed some light into this space for us. Phuong? Phuong, you're muted.
Hi. How I know about ImmunoScape is through, firstly, its reputation in the field. Back then, when I worked in a research academic lab, I already known this company because we also work in the immunology field. Then I have got a refer from a friend who knows ImmunoScape. And I got reached out by Choon, and very quickly we arranged for an interview to talk about the company and also my interests. Yeah. So that's how things started.
So you took less than a year.
For me, it's surprisingly fast. Everything is just so fast and efficient. It's like, okay, I got an interview one day, and then a few days I got to see Michael, our scientific directors, and then the whole process, it just end in a few weeks.
And then you got your offer letter the next day.
Yes, it's the time when I walked to the lab to see how people really work there. And then I got to see Choon and I got my offer letter.
Fantastic.
It's really efficient.
So
like that.
Yeah, as you can see, it differs from person to person, and we are, we will want to know the person really well, and to see how the person fits into the team, and we do this in a very curated fashion. Yeah. So that's why Swimming's experience is so different from Phuong, and it's because we want to make sure that we bring out the best in a person with the right kind of job scope, job role, and we have this kind of discussion very often, even with our existing employees. What do you want to be when you grow up, right? So how do you see your career in 3 to 5 years? Is there anything that the company can do to help you get there? But at the same time too, also we ask for contribution by the employees. A relationship. It's not one-way love affair, yeah?
Thanks, Choon. When you say what do you want to be when you grow up, sounds like a Barney question. If people watch Barney, they know that there was a song around it. But let's hold that thought. I want to drill slightly in further for Phuong and Shiming. Was there any apprehension, living a more stable environment towards a startup environment? Was there any apprehension joining the startup? There's the initial hype, I want to, but then, when you join, it's a different expectation. Or was there any differences or challenges when you first joined? And that personal stories, if you have. Phuong, maybe you want to take it first, lady first?
Yeah. I am very straightforward, I think, during my interview. Okay. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. My internet connection is a bit unstable.
That's all right.
Okay. So in my first interview, I think in the second one, I do ask the management team whether, because I'm come from a research lab, they have their own source of funding. So when I join a biotech, I have to concern about my job stability too, whether the company performance is stable and going well. So I got a lot of sharing from Choon and from Michael, where I got a bit more confidence about my decision. And then when I joined, everything went quite well. I didn't take much time to blend into the company. I got a lot of chance to learn, to interact with people and get trained. So as a virtuous officer, you don't have to worry that you work like a robot every day without knowing the principles and the science behind everything. So I got to train to use the company bioinformatic pipelines to analyze data within, I think, very first few weeks. And also with the company policy to encourage cross-training, I have been trained to do flow cytometry platform to meet deadlines or to meet the demands of certain projects. So I think working in a biotech or working in an academic lab, both have their own demands and challenges. For me, working in a biotech require a lot of communication skills and project management because business goals and scientific goals are both very important. And of course, teamwork, because we can't really like one man show. We have to coordinate with our teammates to make everything works. Yeah,
Thank you, Phuong.
that's my
Do you have
Hey,
any?
Vanessa.
Yes.
Hey, yeah. Maybe can I jump in this bit, and then before we get swimming, because Phuong mentioned something quite interesting that I hope to address. Because when I'm recruiting team members, this conversation does come up from time to time. It's about the risk of joining a startup. Yeah. So I would have to say that definitely joining a startup carries more risk than working in a government-funded institution. I'm not sure whether it's still the same these days because government institutions are also going through restructuring, you know. But definitely, I think people are concerned about risks. Right, and I actually really thank my teammates for giving us the confidence when they join us, because they are taking a risk with us, right? And we take that very seriously because we want to care for our people. And I often tell them, I said, look, you know, I have enough a runway for the next. No, we are talking about the cash flow runway. That's how investors talk to biotechs, right? There's always a balance. They say this morning I just finished my investor call. They said, hey, don't raise too much money. You raise too much, then you are either paying interest rate or you are diluting, right? Don't raise too much. So I said, no, I have to raise. They said, okay, fine, you need to raise. Then if you raise because you want to have the cash flow runway. So I tell my team members that, look, you know, we have our cash flow runway 2-3 years, no problem, right? And then we will do the work, and with good work that we do, we will raise some more, right? And we are doing good work, and we are very bullish about the future. We are expanding, right? So there is definitely the risk when you join a startup company. However, with the 2-3 years experience that you have in not just ImmunoScape, you know, other startups, you have valuable experience. The government-funded institutions will always be there, and guess what? The government institutions are also wanting to commercialize technology and also trying to move closer to industry. So with your kind of good experience and you join the academic labs, they will want to have you because you have the skill sets that they are looking for too, and the experience of a commercial lab. And there are certain things that you will not get in academic labs, for example, the kind of standards that we have to adhere to when doing projects with the industry. So Siming is, ran a project on quality management. And when one of our collaborators from Germany, who we are working with on COVID projects, came down, they want to ensure that we have the processes and systems in place. So, Simi, can you talk a bit about your experience in these standards and what is anything that valuable that you learned from that experience and that is different from academic labs a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Choon. And yeah, a shout out to Patricia, who's also on this call. She's our consultant for quality management system. So basically, as Choon mentioned, we have a project with a vaccine developer in Germany, and they would like to us to adhere to a high standard of data quality. So as part of that process, they do an audit on our lab and also make certain suggestions. So we are now implementing those measures. So from a scientist point of view, in an academic lab, we're usually not as conscious as to the need of quality control. Meaning that, for example, usually we don't need to care too much about which pipette is used for which experiment, what's the batch number of the reagent, and so on, right? Because these are usually not too much of a concern. But in a commercial setting, these are very important parameters. One reason is, for example, let's say a particular batch of reagent are not working. We need to speak with confidence which are the batches of data that need to be re-examined, while which are the data that are pretty safe, right? So this kind of awareness and the need to adhere to a high standard of data quality is pretty valuable and unique to biotech working environments. And with that in mind, I think it will be definitely improve a different dimension of thinking in terms of like conducting experiments, and it will also improve the quality of the work. And that aspect itself is pretty valuable, whether it's inside biotech or even if, outside of biotech as well. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I remember when I was in A-Star, reproducibility of data in the academic setting has always, has become a real concern. And so we are, getting first-hand experience and doing stuff like this. Back to you, Vanessa. Yeah.
Thanks, Choon. Please, audience, keep the questions coming. I'll actually take a little turn into looking at training and development at ImmunoScape. I guess this is also, career joiners question, right? Does a startup even have sufficient resources to train and develop talents like an MNC? I mean, it's similar to the stability question, but what kind of resources or what kind of thought process do you actually put into training and development? Maybe we start with Phuong.
All right. Yeah, so because I agree with Choon that people's always at the heart of an organization. So training and development is always crucial. It's just like anyone who joins a company, they also think about their personal development. What can they learn? Yeah. So at ImmunoScape, they have allocate quite efficient resources for training. We have different training platforms. We have a scientific meeting where you can talk about scientific resource and findings, and everyone can contribute and learn from the meetings. We also have our recent journal club to discuss about emerging issues in the field and how we can learn or how we can improve ourselves from that. From my own personal experience as a research officer, I received a lot of training opportunities, not only just to follow the company SOP to complete an experiment. I got involved in project planning and data analysis as well, so that I have a better view, better big picture about the whole project, and also gives me a sense of ownership, more motivation to complete the project. And usually when we join a company, I'm worried about I am too specialized in something that later on is make it difficult for me to take other opportunities in the future. But here, we often offer cross-training activities. For myself, other than CyTOF, I have been trained in flow cytometry platform, another complementary technology, so that we can meet specific demands for certain projects. And for me, I really appreciate for those opportunities I receive.
I like the way you talk about cross training, and I think that chimes in very well with the nimbleness, right, of a startup, because you are a much smaller team with a larger and higher degree of work to be done, and being nimble, being ability to cross train. I think that's a very, very nice setup you have, Choon, there. Shiming, maybe for your side, you join as a bioinformatician, you work with computers, you deal with codes, you deal with genetic, is that the only thing that you do at ImmunoScape? I believe not, because based on your profile, you tell me you are in project management. So please shed some light into the training and development that ImmunoScape evolve you from a bioinformatician to where you are now.
Yes, thank you, Vanessa. So yeah, for myself, I see it in an angle of a startup giving a platform and opportunity to gain exposure to different areas. So for my last 1.5 years, so the area that I've been exposed to is bioinformatics. That's my bread and butter. But also on the due diligence side, on the technical side, doing fundraising, and also lately on the project management. So because as Vanessa mentioned, yeah, we are a small team. There are various functions that need to be performed, and Choon and the management are pretty open-minded to let us to try to acquire new skills and try our hands on different roles. So for example, let's say for technical development projects, as scientists in A-Star, it's not common that you have to think about planning for the project, the budget-wise, timelines, resource allocation, and so on, right? But in a biotech, it's quite important to perform this kind of exercise at the beginning of the project and also do regular review so that we know that we are on track, and how to coordinate across different teams, right? So and then the other aspect, of course, is the project management side. As a scientist working in A-Star, you're usually only responsible for one project. But in a biotech, again, you work in teams. So how to coordinate across the different functions. And then also, when problem arises, how do you go about solving it? And also interaction with the teammates and also with external parties. And also, there will be opportunities to prepare slides for presentations to external party and also to investors. So it's quite eye-opener to see the different needs and expectations of different stakeholders. And I think that is a very holistic training, and that's definitely something that cannot be gained by working in the academic environment alone.
Thank you. Choon, do you have anything to add onto this point?
Yeah, terrific to hear, from Peng and also Simi himself, and both of them actually thrive in ImmunoScape's kind of environment. One thing is that we provide the platform, we provide the opportunities like scientific meetings and journal clubs for them to learn. And of course, we also have other formal training like communications training that we did. More difficult these days with COVID. We did it virtually. Communications training is really tough. We still have a project management training that we want to bring the entire company through because the skill set is going to be useful as a life skill for everybody. And we are a project management organization. But, people have to step up. When the opportunity is there, you can see people like Phuong stepping up, Simi stepping up to think about okay, now I'm supposed to answer questions from the investors about our financial forecast. Simi is a bioinformatician, and like, okay, Simi, can you do the financial forecast for me, And he did it. And after a while, I realized, this guy is really talented. He does a whole lot of other things. And Simi, can you try to do project management? You're not trained per se, but these are the tools used. And then he's like, yeah, why not? Right. So there is a platform and opportunity, but the people step up, and when they step up, we just rejoice with them because they get better at what they do. So if you're in a growing biotech company, I worked in big organizations before. Big organizations have very specific roles for people, right? So you do that role very, very well. But if you're in a growth organization, there will be opportunities for you to step into roles that you never think that you would. And of course, that's a conversation that I have with my staff and my teammates every 6 months, what do you want to do when you grow up? All right, because if I know that they are very open to doing different things and dabbling at different things, then I'll be like quite open to give them opportunities to try. But if people tell me, Choon, I'm overwhelmed, sorry, just too much, then I know I should slow down, because work will always be there, but but the way we care for our team members is going to be important. That we do not overwhelm people. We do it in a way that is manageable. And there are other programs that we are thinking of. One of the people on this call is our consultant, HR expert, Sharon Phuong. Used to be in J&J for many years and in healthcare. She's helping us put together a leadership development initiative and program. Thanks to government support, Beyond Skills Future, we are looking at talent development program, a leadership development program that we're going to implement in the company. So again, there are more opportunities for us to develop our people. Again, people is our number one priority, right? Because we depend on the people to solve the difficult scientific problems.
Thanks, Choon. So before I segue into my last segment, I know we are quite tight on time. Choon, maybe I'd just like to take a question from Kok Soon here. Is that how do you trade between publishing versus protecting your IP? Maybe just half a minute so that we can get more into the seminar.
Okay, we will always need to protect our IP. In the same way as the sequence in A*STAR, the sequence in biotech is the same. Go out, make sure that you file your patent first before you publish, and don't publish before you file your patent. Yeah? The other way around doesn't work very well. So we always want to publish because we want to tell the world that we have the technology platform that can do many things, that we want to go out there and partner with these biopharma companies. So the more we publish, the more reputation that we get. So instead of, we are not selling iPhones that we put up iPhone ads in every corner of the street. We are in science. The best publicity is actually through your publication.
Thanks, Choon. So, okay, with the interest of time, just wrapping up, I guess, is also a pertinent question. Shi-Ming and Phuong, if you can do a reflection, is working in a startup a very stressed and time compressed manner? Is it something that people have to be very aware of? If you can just take half a minute each to share on this point. Maybe Shi-Ming first this time around.
Okay, sure. Yeah, so far I think the stress is, if there's any stress, it's more like, oh, there's so much more to learn. And it's actually quite exciting because it's a very fast-paced environment, and projects turn over pretty quickly, and I get to try out different roles, and it's a very good training experience. So so far it's very enjoyable. Yeah, so highly recommended. Yeah. Thank you,
Shi-Ming. Phuong, I know you just came back. Yeah, you are actually serving your last bit of your maternity leave, and you're coming back. Is working in a startup very time demanding for a new mom? What are working hours like?
Yes, we often have to deal with a lot of strict timelines, but we do have flexible working hours, so I can arrange my work and take care of my family at the same time. And this policy, I think, especially work very well in COVID-19 era right now. For me, I can communicate and planning with my colleagues. So those times I don't have to do the lab work. I can stay at home to do project planning and data analysis. So yeah, stressful. Yes, I think our job is stressful nowadays, but how we accept the challenge and cope up with the stress to advance my own career, I think after all worth it. And I also believe with all that, the company will stay competitive at the forefront of the medical technology.
Thanks, Phuong. Choon, looks like your nice culture has panned out very well here. So perhaps you can take the last bit to share with the audience the nice culture, and perhaps from my end is ImmunoScape hiring.
Yeah. So we are hiring. We are hiring quite a number of research officers. We are hiring scientists. We are hiring bioinformaticians. We are definitely hiring primarily for Singapore, but if you can go to the US, it makes it even better. And you know, I cannot promise that you will have a definite good fit with what we need now, but we hope to have a relationship with you. Like us on Facebook, like us on LinkedIn, keep in touch with what we are doing, and then you know, have a let's keep track of what we can do together. So I just appreciate again, want to thank the audience for sticking with us through this time. Want to thank Vanessa and Susan also for helping to facilitate this. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Choon. With this, I will close the session. Thank you, everyone, for your attention. Thank you to panelists for taking off their time, because we know that how busy ImmunoScape is now. So thank you for your time to share your thoughts today with the audience today. If you'd like to find out more about ImmunoScape, please do not hesitate to follow them, contact them, hunt down. I don't think they are very far away from Barclays. They are at the NPS building. Perhaps you can use this to see where your next career innovation will be. And thank you, everyone. Have a nice day ahead. Signing off. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.